Okay, we're live. This is James Madouk speaking. 2 nights ago, for my very first time, actually Monday evening, I went for salsa dancing. Absolutely, dude in his 60s, out for salsa lessons, salsa dancing for the very first time. And I can tell you right now, I was completely out of my element. I have never salsa danced in my life, never been taught how to salsa dance. And it was quite obvious in the lessons that I had never had a salsa lesson. Now, this is a huge reminder for me what it means to be completely out of my element and out of my league. Completely awkward, overwhelmed, and that experience taught me something, or more importantly, reminded me about something. And it's an incredible lesson about teaching our stuff online with our courses or in our community. So if you ever felt that maybe you're kind of a little bit stuck, trying to connect with people in your community or with the courses that you've created, and you're trying to make it beginner friendly, or even if you should make it beginner friendly, I want you to stick around, because at the end of this video, I'm going to give you a couple tips on how to break down really complex topics into simple steps, create quick wins that boost the student confidence, and more importantly, use things like feedback and progression markers to keep people engaged in your courses and in your community. So let me show you how my journey from salsa beginner to someone wanting to learn salsa, not perfect salsa dancer, might be able to inspire you on how you can create better courses, build a better education business, and have a super engaged community that you're working with. So, the big thing here is when you're thinking about all of this, it's the big problem is it's like you have to remember that you're a beginner before you master something. And I guess there's a concept, I haven't used this personally, but in the research they used it as a phrase, and the idea was the curse of knowledge. And I guess the whole idea here is that when you know something, you expect everyone else to be at the same level that you're at. Now, I'll give you an example of why this is important. We had a family gathering on the weekend. This was when the kids were there, and I have not young kids anymore. I've got all my kids are either close to 30 or 30, and these are professional business people, an accountant, a doctor, people that are working at large corporations. And one of the times that something came up is I had mentioned the word perplexity and Notebook LM. Those are AI tools that I talk about all the time in all of the videos that I've done on YouTube and all the different skills for creating course content, but I had mentioned it and they hadn't heard of it. These are people who are in business already, but I assumed that they knew what perplexity was. And if you don't know what perplexity is, it's perplexity.ai. I'll put the links below, but it's a reverse Google. So you tell it the search and it goes out to search everything and gives you an AI generated response of a proper answer to your question based on it going out to search Google and all the other references that it can find. So this was something that I guess came up, but they didn't know what perplexity was. And I thought that they did. They hadn't heard of Notebook LM from Google, which, as I've talked about in a whole bunch of other videos, as a way to organize the content and create a lot of context when you're using AI tools to use it. So this curse of knowledge is when you are creating your course, you're creating your campus, you're the one that's trying to teach something, you can always fall into this kind of trap that you think that people know where you are. And this salsa experience reminded me of that to the extent that I was really refreshed on the fact that I got to go back and learn from this and apply it to the courses that I'm creating, the content I'm creating, and try and make things a lot more simple. So if you're going to create some content, if you're going to create a YouTube video, if you're going to create a course, if you're going to create a community or a membership site or training site, you've got to figure out how to make sure that I'm speaking at my own students' level. And I'm just going to tell you how, I have to tell you this because it's kind of scary how bad I was. And it just puts this in perspective. So when you're starting out, your students may not be where you think they are. Now, we went to this class. I was there with my wife and some neighbors. So there was two couples. We came together and it was an hour class followed by an hour of actual dancing. So we go to the class. There was maybe 50 or 60 people there. And there was one instructor, a very, very skilled instructor, but majority of the dancers had some experience salsa dancing, except for the four of us, I think. And what happened is, because there was a lot of people that were there who had a little bit of experience, the instructor did a lot of, and he said it up front, he let us know, he said, we're going to jam a lot of stuff in for beginners and for the people that are here, for his audience, but he was trying to figure out, how can I teach some stuff that is a little past beginners and at least give some pieces or information instructions for people who already had a baseline. So he was in a tough spot. He had a bigger audience, but he's trying to figure out, how do I do a little bit at the start to get people started who haven't been here before, haven't learned, and then still keep it interesting for people who had some skills or knew where it was. But what ended up happening is he put first, second, and maybe a third lesson that he would have normally done in 3 lessons, he put it into this 1 hour. And I don't know if you've ever been to a salsa class before, but what happens in these ones, at least the one I was at, is that when you're doing these, you get a minute or 2 minutes with a partner that starts out to maybe be your partner, but what happens is everyone rotates every minute and a half kind of thing. So it'd be one little lesson, you practice it with one partner, and then everyone switches partners. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is because obviously when you get partners, it's one thing to go with someone else who doesn't know what's going on, but if you get a new partner and that new partner is very skilled, they have some choices. They can either show you what to do or expect that you know what you're doing. And I was very obvious that I didn't know what I was doing. Actually, I had one person who the instructor showed the moves, did the little foot moves and explained what we're supposed to do. Then we were supposed to practice, and we were kind of away from the instructor and there was other people in front of us. But what happened was that after we did the move, the partner that I had pulled me forward and said, can you see the instructor's feet now? So I was that bad that the person who was trying to help me knew I was too far gone and moved me in a point where I could actually see what the instructor was doing with his feet. So when you're teaching stuff to people, you are the instructor and or you're the person that's helping in the community or the training site. You either have to make sure that you talk to everyone at the same level, or more importantly, you keep the people who are also there involved in trying to help out. And that's where community is really, really important. And you have to think about it as a progression. So you've got to start where they are, whether they're at the beginners, a little bit, or very experienced, and you've got to be able to guide people through that journey. But you have to start where they are, not where you think they should be. Okay, so the next thing is you want to make sure that you break things down into bite-sized pieces. And he did a really good job of this because at least I thought they were bite-sized. The only thing that I had trouble with is because there was advanced people there, there was too many bites. I only needed 1 or 2 bites. We got 4 or 5 bites. So I didn't have enough time to practice the one things that we had started, which is, I guess, some basic steps forward, basic steps back, basic steps to the side, basic steps to the side. Those were those first 2 steps, and everything built on top of that. And when you go to these classes, what happens is you learn a step, you practice it. You learn another step, you practice it. You put the 2 steps together, you practice it. But it's all about a progression that goes and it brings you from where you are, where you need to be. And that's why I put the campus map together here on the training site. It's this exact same reason. It's like, these are the 10 steps. You're going to have to do them in order. And you start out at the beginning and you get more complex and progress through them. And you have to get those small milestones in the middle. And what that means is that if you get that very first step down and you practice it and you get comfortable with it, that's when you introduce the second step. And the thing that was really cool is what they did and what he did in this instructor is every time that you switched with the partner, What you needed to do is give a high five to the partner and a thanks. The next person came around. It was an introduction. Hey, how are you? What's your name? That kind of thing, so that you knew each other with the partner, and you actually, again, kind of connected with an accountability partner, and you were able to sort of know or keep people on the same level, or know where each of you were on that particular level. So how do you make these little milestones, or make sure that you provide milestones that allow people to feel that they're learning something? This is where ideas like gamification come into your site, like leaderboards where you can give awards and all sorts of recognition for people who are learning in your community and in your training site as they go through this particular progression. Now, the other thing that's cool here, and this was really obvious once the dancing started after, is teaching isn't about showing off what you know, it's about helping someone else grow. And I did up for another client this morning, I did up a whole community moderator kind of guidelines thing on how you, as a community owner, a training site owner, as the instructor, the teacher, you can be in a prompt people or guide people through their journey. And it isn't about going and getting in the community yourself as a teacher and saying, hey, look how great I am. It's about helping the people that are there and guiding through the steps that they need. And this was really obvious in the dance after, because the instructor that was there, this particular gentleman, had won all sorts of awards, had won all sorts of stuff for his dancing skills. But when he danced after, in the dance with some of the partners, do you think he did stuff that was absolutely wild and crazy? No, he danced with the person that was there. He didn't do it to show off, to do all the fancy moves. He danced with his partner. If his partner was skilled, he upped his game. If his partner wasn't as skilled, he danced at that person's particular level. So don't be the teacher that brags, be the person that goes, hey, where are you? How can I help? What are the things that you need to know? Where are you in this process? How can I make you feel that you've taken a step forward today? How can I help you build some confidence while you're going through on this? So what are some practical examples of this? Anytime you're doing a course, anytime you're putting anything together, I talked about the Heinemann technique in one of the other videos, and if you don't remember that one, go take a look at it. You'll see, I'll try and put a link below to the bottom of this in the program notes, is that if you can't explain what it is that you're going to be teaching so that you understand it, if you were teaching it to yourself, it's not simple enough. So you have to make sure, and this is a huge thing, I think, for the whole education space and all of these online courses. I think things are being more and more simplified, and they have to be. And that's how the content is presented, but also how it's provided. So you've got to make sure that anything that you have is complex has to be broken into smaller pieces. And that's why I think you'll find less people actually creating online courses. You're going to see mini courses or micro courses or individual lessons or tutorials. So it's not all one big piece, it's just those tiny little steps. And breaking those steps down makes a big difference on being able to get people to actually implement and do the stuff that you're talking to them about. So anytime you're doing a lesson, what you want to do is you just want to say, hey, see how breaking this idea down into smaller steps can make a difference. So you're teaching to someone, you're talking to someone, you're getting feedback from someone. Don't be afraid to ask and just say, are these steps small enough? If I broke it down further, would that help? So that's just an example of how you can do it when you're actually interacting with people. If you're going to be doing it where you're providing a video course, or you're providing a tutorial, you have to look and say, is this straightforward enough? Have I got it in small enough pieces? And not small enough pieces for yourself, but small enough pieces for the person that you're trying to teach this to. Okay? So, like in Salsa, you've got to give some students a little sense of how far they come and what's next. And what that's about, it's building on the actual steps that you've taken. Remember I talked about, there's some salsa steps forward, salsa steps back, salsa steps to the side, salsa steps to the other side, and then you start combining them. And this is exactly what the instructor did. What they would do is they would show the one, have us practice, add another one, have us practice, and then they would introduce combining the two together so that you could start putting the two together and then practice the combination of them. And after people were comfortable to that, what he did is he added an additional little more complex move, which was one of those fancy spins that I didn't do very well at all. So that was different because there was a lot of people in fancy shoes and clothing. I did not have those. My feet weren't slipping the way that they were supposed to on the dance floor. But it was like one step, two step, combined step, complex step. So giving that feedback along the way and making sure that people know, hey, yeah, I get that, I'm ready to go on to the next one. And then letting you know that, hey, I can dance a little bit if you are able to connect those ones to be able to do it. This is really, really simple in a course. And if you're creating a course, you'll see gamification, scores points, a leaderboard, gets people involved. But even the courses, you can see a progress bar that's going through here. The other thing that's really cool when you get into the courses and you've got some content there and you really want to make sure that people change your courses, you can have all sorts of things that are reminders to people that they've accomplished something. One of the things that we use in GamePress is something that when you complete a lesson, or perhaps you complete a section of something, or you're completed one of those pieces that are important, you can actually have confetti blow up from the bottom of the screen. So there's a visual reminder and maybe an audio reminder that, hey, you've done something right and you've accomplished something. So these small changes are easy to remember, but more importantly, that engagement allows people to retain things because they know at the levels that they've actually done this. So how does my salsa dancing come into all of this? I'm going to go and take some more lessons. That's kind of the big thing. I know that I didn't know something now. I thought maybe I'll go in, I'll be able to kind of do it. I've danced before, I've done ballroom dancing. You go to weddings and do fancy dancing with your partner. I'm comfortable on the dance floor, but this particular kind of salsa dancing, never done it, didn't know how to do it. So I know that I had fun doing it and it's something I want to do, so I'm going to go take some more lessons. There's a learning path for me that I can see that I know that I have to do those building blocks. If you give people just the basic steps, but don't give them any learning path, they're not going to take the learning path because they don't know that it's there. So you want to provide a set of steps or allow people to go through a progress or a process and let them know that, hey, if I do this, I can do this next. And if I have those two together, I can do this next piece. So this is about a learning track or a progression of actual courses that you have. And I think using that salsa analogy is an easy way to figure out, okay, what steps do I need, or what steps or process do I need to guide people through, as opposed to saying, here's my big honkin' course. The other thing I want to remember is empathy. Some of the people that danced with me, when you're dancing with someone who you don't know, it's like you're looking down at your feet kind of thing, trying to figure out where you're supposed to step. If they've danced before, they're either going to be really helpful to you because they've been in your shoes before, and they can be empathetic. It's like you look back and say, I remember when I used to dance like that. It was really, really nerve-wracking and scary and overwhelming, so I'm going to be helpful to that person. So have some empathy for someone who's not there, and don't go, oh, I don't have time for that person. So remember when you're creating your course of all the problems that you had to solve yourself, and understand that the people you're trying to help are having the exact same problem. Okay? So all of this stuff I put into the teachonline.io community at trainingsites.io. It's the Teach Online community, and it's a place where we've got a safe space for you to ask questions. We're answering as many of the questions that you have in the process that we created, that campus map, that whole blueprint, those 10 steps that help you to start, build, and grow an education business. So I hope you enjoyed this. Like and subscribe to the channel. All sorts of great content like this. But anytime you're putting content together, whether it's a YouTube video or anything like that, or a course or a tutorial, anything that you're sharing with people, just understand they're not where you are. And I am certainly not an expert salsa dancer. I know that, and I gotta go take some more lessons, and I'll update you when I can at least do a spin or two or get my partner to spin. This is James. You've been watching a quick video from trainingsites.io. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care. Expect the best. We'll be back a little bit later today with Open Classroom in 1 o'clock on every Wednesday. Take care.